So hey everyone, this is Jeremy with Poindexter G, and today we are going to be taking a look at the best games from 2025. Now, to be considered for this list, when you go to Board Game Geek and pull up the game, it has a year by it, has to have 2025 by it in Board Game Geek. Okay, there's some games that kind of fudge the line because they like release early, the actual date that's on it, and Board Game Geek. That's what I'm going by. This is going to be my list of games from 2025. So, what does that mean? Well, to be on my list, that means I need to have played it and interacted with it at some point. And I will admit that means that this is going to be a little bit of a limited list. It's not going to be looking at like all of these games because there's a bunch that I haven't gotten to play or do anything with. I don't get like hundreds of different games getting to me that I can go dig and play through. So this is going to be games that I've bought or friends have bought or I've somehow otherwise been able to sit down and play. So there will be some big name games that won't be on the list. Now I'm going to give you a quick look here at some that have like caught my attention that I haven't got to look at yet, but look interesting to me. Um, or just I've heard a lot about. First of all, I keep hearing a lot about Magical Athlete and Honk Streak. Maybe I need to take a look at those, but I haven't gotten into those yet. There's two games from the same franchise that actually kind of interest me. One of those is Lord of the Rings, the trick taking game. Now, I'm very much into trick taking games. I can't always get people together to do any trick taking games with me, but I'm interested in that concept. It sounds like a really well themed trick taking game. Well themed trick taking game may be showing up later on this list. But the other one that I'm really interested in is Lord of the Rings, The Fate of the Fellowship. Now, this is based off of all crazy things a pandemic, um, although not this specific pandemic, or specifically the Fall of Rome, a pandemic game, because it's a game from the pandemic system, although it didn't fit the pandemic theme. And Fate of the Fellowship is based off of that. I'm going to talk about a few games that didn't end up on the list here. Okay, so 12 Rivers was one that I really found a lot of fun. I did a review of this game. My friend had bought that at Gen Con, and I really enjoyed it. There's some others that I like a bit better, and also this is kind of a reprinting or a second edition, although it doesn't have that name on it there. So it's actually been out for a few years. There's a little bit mechanically different between them looking at it, but don't feel that it's really a new game. Another one is Ace of Spades. I really liked this game. This is another one that a friend of mine bought at Gen Con. Really loved it and played it up there. Was gonna do a video on it, but you see there was some controversy concerning the artwork on it, and they've commissioned new artwork, and that looks like that's going to be coming along sometime in quarter 1 here of 26. So I've kind of held off on doing that one, and that may be a game that will show up later, but right now I'm not going to put it in there. I could put like every unmatched set in here. So sadly, Battle of Legends Volume 3 is not going to be making the list here because I can't just fill this thing up with unmatched. And there's other games I got over 2025 that I liked as well that aren't going to be getting into here, that are perfectly fine games, but just, So I'm going to end up making this a top 6 and not a top 5. And the reason it's a top 6 is because Jeremy can't count. And I already came up with a thing about all of them and then realized this was actually 6 and I kind of goofed it. So going to the actual games here. The first one is a game that I have not yet reviewed. I don't own it. A friend of mine has it. I haven't been able to borrow it from him, but played it at Gen Con and played it since and really liked it. And that is Horrified Dungeons and Dragons. Now you see I've got the original Horrified there, which I really liked a lot. Now some of the others that came after it, the American Monsters, just didn't seem to hit quite as well as the original. Greek Monsters was an improvement. I really feel that the Dungeons and Dragons Horrified has really they've done some unique things with that. One of my favorite things in it is the way that the D20 die is utilized in it to give different effects depending on what you roll on it. That's really on theme for Dungeons and Dragons. I am not like a big fan of Dungeons and Dragons or anything. I don't really know a lot about that. When I was growing up, it was like Dungeons and Dragons are the devil and people are killing themselves playing it. Don't do it. And I just never got into it. But I just really like what they have doing with it. One downside on it is that there are only 4 monsters in it, which is a lot less than the others, because you pretty much just have a mimic, beholder, displacer beast, and a dragon. I mean, you got to throw the dragon in there. It's Dungeons and Dragons. What would you do without a dragon? Now, it does look like they're going to be doing more with the Dungeons and Dragons license, because Ravensburger's just announced recently that they are going to be having another Dungeons and Dragons Horrified set come out. Don't know if it's like a full new playable game or just like an expansion. People have taken a look at the images on it to see exactly what it is, and it looks like it's going to be themed around what they're calling Ravenloft, which is kind of like the horror side of Dungeons and Dragons, which really goes well into Horrified. I don't know what all that means or what's going to be coming there, but there will definitely be some more of it. But they're able to do mechanically a lot of the same things they did with the first set. That one should be pretty good too. So yeah, Horrified Dungeons and Dragons in the number 6 spot. So in the number 5 spot, we are going to have Star Trek Captain's Chair. So this one is one that I have really loved. I have been a big Star Trek fan, okay? And you think that that would have like drawn me right into the game there when I saw the thing at Gen Con, because they were pushing it really big there. They had like big things of like Michael Burnham and Picard up there. It's just like crazy. But yeah, I know that a lot of times, a lot of the implementation of Star Trek stuff in the board games and things is not always the greatest. So I had kind of, I don't know, put it back in my head somewhere and thought about it, but ended up seeing the seeing more of it online, took a look at it, started to really like it a lot. It is mainly a 2-player game, which is like 2 captains going off against each other. It's a deck building game, which I haven't done a lot of deck building games, but this one's really interesting the way that it works, because they throw in a lot of other unique little things you're able to do with it there. You have the one you do have the 1-person variant, which is nice if you end up by yourself and you want to go through it there. It does really well in 1 person, although it is a very different game solo than it is in a 2-player game. So I did a review of Captain's Chair and all of the captains that came in it there. As we know, we've got 2 other Captain's Chair sets that are going to be coming out. We have Boldly Go, which is going to be another pack with 6 captains in it. And then we have Second Contact, which is going to be a smaller set with just the 3 captains in it there. Really was impressed with what it looked like and how it worked after it came out. Don't think it's quite as complicated as many make it sound. It is a heavier game than a lot, but it's not quite as heavy and crazy as many make it sound. So anyway, that's why I put Captain's Chair in the number 5 spot. So in the number 4 spot, we have Logic and Lore. Now, this is a great little kind of two-person deduction duel puzzle game of sorts. It's each of you have your numbers 1 through 9. You have your cards that are out there. They are shuffled up and in the wrong spots. You need to get your cards or the stars that they represent aligned into the proper places. You can only do that by asking the questions that are available to you. That you have a list of questions that you can ask. Once you get a yes on one of those, you stop asking questions and you don't go any more down that turn. As you find out certain ones, you can, when you get some of them aligned in the right spot, you can flip them over to show that they're aligned. You have markers to help you keep track of what's going on with everything that's down there. Really a very interesting puzzle game. If you end up really liking it, can definitely recommend getting the additional play mat for it, because that is really pretty and just really great for keeping your cards from getting damaged. There's currently a Kickstarter for the second edition, which also will include the expansion for it, which brings dice into this game, which is an entirely different thing there. So yeah, definitely a game worth being in this number 4 spot. So for number 3, we've got a game that I don't see much buzz about. I really love this game, but it's kind of slid by there without people noticing, but I think it's great, and that is going to be Positano. Now, Positano is themed around this island in Italy, which has this cliffside beach. I showed this to one of my friends who's like the big traveler of the group, and she saw that and she's like, "Oh, I want to go to Positano. It's one of the places that's on my list." And I was like, oh, wow, she actually knew what Positano was. But Positano is a game where you are building the seaside houses, and you're trying to build them tall enough to where you could get views of the ocean from some of the floors on your building. So you want to build yours where you can get the view of the ocean and also block your opponent so that they don't get the view and you end up getting more points than them. Positano is one of the games that kind of breaks one of Tom Vasel's rules on its Tom Vasel from Dice Tower. He has a rule out there that if there's an expansion to a game and all the expansion does is increase the player count, the game's better off without the expansion. And that is almost always true. Positano actually seems like it might be better at 6 players than it is at 4. In some ways, Positano really almost feels like it was inherently designed as a 6-player game and was published as a 4-player. And I kind of wonder if that's what was going on with it. I don't know that. It just, everything in it feels like it should have been 6 players. So that crowded cliffside expansion is really great for it. One thing that is so wonderful about this game is that it moves very quickly. It's like a 30-minute game with 4 players, and really bringing it up to 6 brings it up to like 40 minutes or so, mainly just because the number of rounds increase a little bit. But it doesn't make it all that much longer of a game, and really still kind of moves along pretty quickly. You also have from Slugfest Games, they're offering a wooden cliffside instead of the cardboard punch out one that came with it. That's another nice upgrade if you end up really liking this game. I'll probably end up doing a separate review on just that game. But definitely Positano, a very Very fun game, very quick game to pick up and play, and moves well, and I just really like it. So in the number 2 spot here, we're going to have another Dirtle game, because we've already had Logic and Lore. So we had Logic and Lore, which was designed by Dirtle Games, published by Weird Giraffe. In this number 2 spot, we're going to have a game from Capstone Games, and that is going to be Rowdy Partners. Now, Rowdy Partners, as far as themes go, this is insane. This is crazy. This is a game about wrestlers in the Old West. It's like Old West wrestlers. So all of the wrestlers are like themed around Old West archetypes. You have all of those, the lawman, the cavalry guy. You've got like a wrestling donkey there. I mean, what is up with that? It's crazy. And so this is a trick-taking game. So a really crazy themed trick-taking game where the point of the game is by winning tricks, you deal damage to the other team's fighter that is in the ring. You deal damage to them equal to the value of the card that you want to trick with, but lowest card wins the trick, which is the gimmick there that a low card can win a trick easy, but a low card doesn't deal a lot of damage. If you want to be able to deal like 8 damage, you got to find a way to win with an 8, which is going to be really hard. You also get all the roundiness that goes in it because you've got all these tokens that change values, can change suits, add additional damage, do all of these crazy things, and you get cards that can cancel out other cards and completely change which card is leading that trick. This is a lot of fun. It is insane. And to go ahead and bring up Dice Tower again, we saw Tom Vassell mention that this is probably the most thematic trick-taking game that he has ever seen. So definitely Rowdy Partners is definitely a game worth taking a look at. And so for my number 1 game of the year, it is an unmatched game, and y'all should have known that it was going to end up on the list when I didn't mention it earlier with the games that didn't make it, and that is going to be Unmatched Adventures Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So this is another Unmatched Adventures set. We had seen the previous Unmatched Adventures set, Unmatched Adventures Tales to Amaze. Unmatched Adventures being the cooperative mode for Unmatched, which is the fighting, dueling game that most of my channel's content is in fact based around. Now the Unmatched Adventure sets are nice, is that you get 4 fighters in there, just like a lot of the other 4 fighter sets. You get 2 maps in there, which is great on those. You can play them in regular Unmatched. You can play them in a 2v2 game or a free-for-all game. But you also have the Unmatched Adventures cooperative mode where you can go up against the villains and the minions that are on there. And really, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is one of the IPs that just almost looks like it is made to go into this, because on that franchise of TMNT, you have 4 turtles, which are definitely like, those are going to be your main fighters, and you have 2 primary main villains with Shredder and Krang. So it just like works so perfectly to go into this set. Additionally, on top of that, you have like the design of the characters and the design of the villains is so great. This is such a step up from Tales to Amaze, and Tales to Amaze was not a bad set. That was a very good game in and of itself there, but this has just taken things up. The things that the villains do on this are so much more interesting. Shredder and Krang just being having so much more that's going on with them than what you had with Mothman and the Martian invaders in Tales to Amaze. I think that all four of these fighters are really, really great. There are things to love about all of them. I think all four of the turtles feel unique, have their very own different things that they are doing, really are great. It's just such an amazing set. There's also the add-on that you can buy to it, the Shredder versus Krang pack, which will make Shredder and Krang both playable. So for a little bit more, you can buy that and have an additional two other fighters that go into this. And just like any other unmatched set, you can mix in the turtles with other sets, with other fighters. You can bring the other fighters from the other sets in to play against Shredder and Krang. And you could do this crazy Marvel Jurassic Park, Witcher and Buffy team up into Shredder, which is insane that you can do that. But definitely this right here, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think this is the best unmatched set to date. I really, really think so. Just man, they just nailed all four of the heroes in this, just to an extent that I haven't seen with the others. Definitely, if you're into TMNT and you like Unmatched, why do you not own this? Um, that's what I gotta say about it. So anyway, that is my list of the top games of 2025. According to me, I know I've left stuff off the list. I told you that earlier that I was leaving things off. So what are some of your favorites? Are there some on here that really need to be mentioned? Are there games that I brought up that you're like, I never even heard of that? What even is that thing? Well, go and ask me about that on here. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and a like. You can go down into the comments section and let me know all of that stuff that we talked about. And you can also subscribe to my channel. Make sure you catch all the videos I post so you don't miss anything. This is Jeremy with Poindexter G, and we'll see you around next time.